Hi, I'm Kathryn Dager, and I have been the president and founder of Profitivity Inc., which I started in 1985 because I saw a huge need for the culture of the businesses and the workplaces to be common. So everybody loved going to work every single day. And that's what I've been doing for 36 years.
I have a story for you, and it's a true story, and it's about my first job. I don't know if you had a great first job or if, so many people have had terrible times, but when I was 15 and a half, I had a very rough childhood, and I ended up living with my mom and stepfather, and it was really a very dysfunctional experience. So there was a lot of fighting at home, a lot of emotions that were churned up, and I lived across the street from the high school, and it was a very miserable time in my life. So I had the opportunity to go to work for Taco Bell. It was the 20th Taco Bell on the planet. And I was 15 years old. It was my first job, and I made $1.35 an hour. And I was so excited that I got to go to work. But I also found is it was my place. It was like something for me because I wasn't at school where I had to be with the group that I really wanted to be with. And it wasn't family dynamics and all the family hysteria that was going on in my world at that time. So here was my spot that it was safe, and it was my place of just finding out more about myself. So I ended up having an incredible time there. I had my uniform. I was really excited about making all the food there. They had almost everything was like 50 cents, and we made all of everything ourselves, and it was just really fun. And there was something that I started noticing is that there are certain days that every customer was a jerk. And that was miserable because when that happened, time would not go. It would just stay. The day would never end. People were miserable. Even the customers started acting cranky, and the team was also acting cranky. So then there were other days where the customers were just delightful, and I loved those days. There was a fast pace and energy kept going. There's like a momentum, and I loved it. It was so much fun. I go home tired, but really good tired because I had really made a contribution all day long. I was very, very busy. And I loved working on my feet, and I loved hanging out with these wonderful people that I was working with. So one day I started having one of those crummy days again, and I thought about it. And it occurred to me that I had had a fight with my mom that morning before I went to school. And I realized, oh my God, maybe I'm having a bad attitude and it's being reflected back to me. This is shocking to me. It was like, oh my gosh, maybe life is a mirror. Maybe the way that I'm behaving has a real impact on how the day goes. So this was a huge epiphany for me. And what I ended up doing was selfishly, I gotta say, this is my little island here at work, was I started kind of thinking about what can I do to bring the best out in myself every day so I can have a great day every day. I mean, wouldn't that be fun? And then I got to another dilemma. Well, what brings out my best? I had no clue. I was 15. Do you remember when you were 15? I mean, we didn't know. So I started just noticing some of my feelings as I was going through the day. And again, things that really made me happy and things that really kind of were kind of a bummer to have to do. But I ended up realizing one very important thing, and that is I really like people. I really do. So with that in mind, I just started thinking, well, what can I do for the people that are here? Not only my coworkers, but the customers. So I started doing little things, just simple things, like remembering their names. So they come up to the window because it was just an open air, like a stand of adobe brick, and 6 items on the menu. And so they'd come in, and I'd notice the same people started coming every week, and they'd always stand in my line. So I got to know their names. I let the little kids order for themselves so their parents would just giggle, because I say, so what are you having for dinner, sweetheart? And then they, well, because it's 6 items on the menu, they wasn't going to take a long time. So I had this great experience. Also, I started to memorize some of the orders that people came back every week for. So they're like Taco Bell fix, right? And I love that they came back to me. My line of customers wrapped around the block. And it was great. We were in sunny Southern California because they would wait for me. And I'd have a great time every day hanging out with these people and making sure they got the best tacos. I was the fastest taco wrapper. So here's what happened. One day, a limousine pulls up, and those are very rare in the San Fernando Valley. And I'm like, what's that? And one of my customers brought a professional photographer, and he took a picture. And I didn't know, but he was working on the local newspaper. So he took my picture, and they did an article about me and some of the wonderful customer service that they were receiving, and how the team was all very responsive to them as well. So guess what? I'm going to show you my picture. So here it is. This is me at Taco Bell. And so this picture was in the newspaper, and it was a great little article about what we were doing. And I was just having the best time ever. So what I ended up doing was starting to go, I went to work and was loving doing it, but truly everybody caught up with all the excitement. And about 12 years ago, I took that picture to Taco Bell headquarters, which was actually headquartered at that time in Southern California. And I just said, people are not having any fun working with you. So let's get this together. This is the best job I've ever had. It's where I received my purpose. My purpose really was to bring out my best every day. And then from that point on, bring out the best in everyone else around me as much as I could. So I got a $60,000 contract at Taco Bell, and we created a bunch of wonderful videos about making suggestions. And I'm just going to say, it changed my life, because ever since then, every work environment that I'm in, and I now have clients all over the world, I'm teaching people and studied human behavior and psychology. So I look at it as a laboratory for human behavior. So I'm the scientist, thinking of what else can we do for our customers? What else can we do to bring our best out? What else can we do for our team? And this is what I've been doing for 36 years. And my Taco Bell story was the best job I've ever had was at Taco Bell. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I'm just going to say to you, what do you do to bring out your best every day? And how much do we actually impact other people? What the statistics show is every day, if you're interfacing with the public, we are influencing 1,500 people a day. Now, I feel like that's such an important part of our integrity, is to make sure we're bringing our best to work and bringing our best out in other people, and not just caring for ourselves, but really caring for others. So I hope you enjoy that. And if you like it, please leave some comments. And also, I'd love to hear your story. So give me a call. I'm actually going to write a book about this. I have a publisher that wants to do this. So if you want to be in my book, I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
I actually started being fascinated with business when I was working at Taco Bell. And what I learned at Taco Bell, 15 years old, $1.35 an hour, it was incredible. And there I was with my first job, not really understanding the kind of impact that I had in the business world. And at 15 years old, I discovered that the customers absolutely read my body language and my attitude. And if I was in a grumpy mood and I brought that to work, all hell would break loose and I would have the most miserable day on the planet. So I got selfish and I decided, what can I do to make every day great? And what I decided that I was going to do is just get to know my customers because I knew I really liked people. So that taught me so much about bringing my best out every single day. And I had a blast at Taco Bell, a repeat clientele. I knew what people ordered every week. I let the little kids order for them. We had the greatest time. But I got hooked on the psychology of the success of sales and service. And literally, I've been studying that for 40 years and I can't get enough of it. So I found a mentor that actually knew all about the neurosciences. She was 68, I was 23, and I ended up studying with her for 9 years. She used to have Einstein over for dinner in her home. She was really incredible as far as what causes people to resist change. What is it that we do where we lose track of some of our greatest goals and we just slip down into a comfort zone? I was learning all of that from her, and I just took it to work and implemented it with all of my team. And I got into leadership positions. I ended up in organization development and being a recruiter for a huge chain of department stores. I had a love for creating those environments. And what I did was really take what my great mentor, Adele Lewis, was teaching me, and I made it work in the workplace. And I had phenomenal results just by relating with my own employees that I was responsible for. And that is the track that I've been on. I've been in so many opportunities to touch people's lives, to get them onboarded with a lot of grace and a lot of attention. So they became a part of the culture instead of feeling like they were just being left. And I also decided and looked at how critical training is for people to feel confident in what they're doing and for them to also make really good customer related decisions. So my whole way of running business was about training, development, and encouraging people to bring their ideas forth. And then we put them into action. So before we had the word empowerment, I was doing that. Before we even had the word collaboration, nobody was talking about that. I was creating that in the 70s and loving everyone and every creation that I've had. It was like a laboratory of human behavior. And I dug it. I absolutely love bringing my best out and teaching other people how they can bring their best out as well and just have a great kick-ass life. What I was doing after Taco Bell, I ended up having a career in retail because I loved being on my feet and working with people all the time. So I went through a management training whole program for a big chain of department stores, and I ended up finding that I absolutely loved the leadership role. I loved having teams, and I ended up getting promoted over and over again. And for some reason, my passion with training, which I really think of Adele, my great mentor, that really ignited that inside of me, that has had me on a finding out what to do to make people feel confident, to make them feel like they belong so that they are crazy in love with their customers and that they're not trying to just remember product knowledge, but they're really relating to people because they are confident inside of themselves. So that is one of the big things I got out of every situation I was in the department stores was it was an unstructured environment, but it's how we're being every day that brings our best out. And it also brings out the best in our customers. And the other huge element that I had discovered from the mentor that I was working with is how people love to share their ideas and then they own their ideas. So I used to get a flip chart with pens and go out into my department stores, about 26 of them at the time. And I asked the ladies that were working for me, behind the cosmetic counters because I was a buyer in cosmetics. And I'd say, what can we do to double our business? What can we do for the customers? And they had such great ideas. So things that we did were coming from them. And once I used my resources and my vendors and all of the opportunities that I had to give back to the staff that was working for me, we had 50% increases in sales because we put their ideas forward. And one of the ideas was, hey, women come in here in these department stores and cosmetics during their lunch hour. What can we do to just spruce them up so they can go back to work and look great? So we got chairs, these big stools right out in front of the counter. And we figured out a 5-minute little teeny makeover for women. And they used to bring their sandwiches and flock into the department stores and relate with their wonderful cosmetic experts. And our business flourished. So what happened with that is the company decided that I would be the perfect first recruiter for them. And then I would create an executive training program because they loved me actually getting in there in the trenches, learning what the front line really wanted and making these things happen. And I'll tell you what, I was the organization development director in this big department store chain and was the first recruiter. And I absolutely loved it. What I really loved was watching people grow and grow in their confidence and grow in their communication skills. So it was a win all the way. And I loved every second of it. I absolutely loved working with these people. And I was not trained like they were. So I actually used my practical experience. For example, recruiting. I interviewed 13 people a day in campuses. I went to about 24 different campuses. And in those interviews, I figured out there were patterns. I was looking at the nonverbal communication. So after I had thousands of people that I literally had interviewed, and many of them became some of our greatest managers and buyers, I started to create a training program because no one had taught me how to hire people. Nobody taught me how to recruit. So I just documented what it was that I was doing, and it just was magical. So I was ending up training the executives that I would take with me to represent our company in the recruiting pool in all of these wonderful campuses. And then I left after I had this great time with the department stores. I realized one of the things I really wanted to do was understand some of the chain stores in the malls. That's a very different environment. And they're smaller stores, fewer people, but they really had a huge impact, like the boutiques and some of the wonderful chains that were represented. So I ended up being recruited into a position where I was a regional manager for general nutrition centers. It started in 1980, and I was not even 30 years old. And I had about 2,000 people reporting to me directly and indirectly. It was pretty overwhelming because I had 110 stores in 6 states to run and to make our targets, to get everybody aligned, to get everybody on the same page. We're terrible turnover. And I was astounded by how many people were coming in and leaving in such short order that I thought, we have some big problems here. So I decided, oh my gosh, I got to do something to teach my whole district and all the regions exactly what to do to empower people, to get them working, and to also get them onboarded so they wanted to stay. And the other thing is my body gave out pretty much because I was trying to do so much online college. So that was another big part of learning that it wasn't about me. It was really about how confident are they? How much do they know about running their business? And also, if I'm not doing the work anymore, I need them to be able to make excellent customer decisions. So what that meant for me was to quit people pleasing and to make sure they knew how to do all of the tasks and use all the skills necessary to make all of our targets. And after I started doing training with my training materials coming out of a typewriter, and there's no cell phones, I asked the company if it's all right if I started bringing my district managers together and the store managers together. And they said, after I started teaching them hiring, and then I started a brand new train the trainer so that all the store managers knew how to teach customer service with their own team. In 5 weeks of initiating all of this, our retention went up to 90%. It was amazing. Our sales increases were between 20 and 30% for all stores. And the people that I had groomed with my training were getting promoted. And I thought, that's the key. The key is make sure that people are confident in what they're doing, that they are empowered so they can give customer related decisions right there on the front line, and that the managers really felt support because they had a team aligned with the company's mission. It was fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. And after that demonstration, the corporate office wanted me to come in to Pittsburgh and to actually train all of their regional managers, all of the district managers, because of the results I was having. I, in a very short time, got put right into training and development, organization development. And I, again, just had the best time sharing what it was that I was doing and formulating the courses and also retooling them if we had some changes, or as I'd study more and find new wonderful nuances on how to motivate people and how to get them to really use their imagination to innovate. It was so much fun. So again, my laboratory for human behavior has been the glide here. And I have always found things that weren't being taught or needed to be. So I just decided, and have continued to do so, is create some very unique, very specific workshops and tools that are duplicatable and that people absolutely love using every day. So I really feel like I'm on a path. What do you think? When I was working as a regional manager, and all of the things that I noticed that really needed to be changed. And the first one was we had terrible employee turnover when I took over. And I thought, oh my God, they're firing us. 300% annually for the part-time associates. Oh my gosh. How can we replace those people? And that put so much pressure on the managers. So what I did was, first of all, I was a fool because I ended up trying to fix it all for them. And then I ended up in the hospital with kidney stones, and the phone would still keep ringing. And I'm going, whoa, what is all of this? And I realized I went off to be ill. And I left all of the questions that they had in the answers that I had inside of myself. They didn't have the answers. I was humbled. I realized what I know doesn't matter nearly as much as what they know. And so I shifted everything I knew about the environment. I'm studying neurosciences and human behavior, but my approach totally changed. And that is, what do they know? What else can I bring out in them so that they can walk out and know how to hire excellent people? Also, how to pull the plug when something's just not working out very much, because they have the confidence to go out and find someone else to replace that person. And the other thing that I absolutely loved was how the managers embraced creating a culture, formalizing a little onboarding and orienting new people in a much more structured way than they had before. So they felt like they were included and that they were respected and that they were wanted. That changed the whole dynamic of the culture. So what happened is after 5 weeks of implementing all of the systems and the training that I had for my region, we had huge successes, like 20 to 30% increase in sales and profit, retention from the employees, about 90% increase in retention, which was great. And they all like to be there now. And then the additional training really got, and training the trainers to go out and do these trainings, they got promoted. People saw it from the corporation, saw such value in all of the people that were growing with the workshops I was giving. They asked me to go to the corporate headquarters and really take on the director of organization development and create these trainings for the whole company, which was a huge honor. And also, I was so excited to be able to share this magic with everyone. So I ended up leaving the region of 110 stores and going off to Pittsburgh. And we had, there were over 1,000 stores at that time. I did a regional manager of 110 stores in the Western region. And then I became the director of organization development. So that was really great. And from that position, I had a different perspective. First of all, I was in Pittsburgh and it was cold, and I'm from California. It was really a shock. The other thing is, I wanted to do this for more than just one company. That really started to develop in my heart. That wouldn't it be great? Because I see so many companies struggling with the same things I had in my region. So I really had great empathy, and especially for the employees. I wanted them to have a really clear path of success. And so my passion actually grew larger when I took on that organization development position and really knew that, and I had a seed of a dream to have my own business to teach all companies that wanted it, all of these great tools and techniques. Glad you asked me, because it's so funny how fast my career accelerated. Because as I went to Pittsburgh and started doing all these wonderful workshops and working with the regional managers and executives and getting everybody on the same page, one of the people that was an executive actually left the business and he went to a different company. And when he went to the company, which was in California, called Carnation Company, he stole me. He said, I want you to come and help me build an entire chain of stores, health and nutrition centers for the Carnation Company. And I got to tell you, I couldn't resist. I got to go back to warm weather, but also I loved creating. As I started really knowing that is who I am, is creating all kinds of wonderful solutions to things that weren't working well. So off to California, I went to be the vice president of human resources for a chain that just started. And in 2 years' time, we had 50 stores, which was incredible. From a concept and initial design, we built out 50 stores in 2 years. It was great. I started Profitivity because Nestle came in and bought Carnation. And the first thing that Nestle did was shut down our division. So I wasn't really all that afraid. I just have to be honest, because I already had my path. I hope that makes sense. But it was so clear that now was my time to start my consulting business and to really find out how to go out and serve many more companies and not just one. So I took the opportunity at 1985, when all of that happened in the buyout, and I started consulting just as Kathryn Dager, but then I continued on and created Profitivity in 1985. I think about this all the time, what some of the most important things that we hits a spot of some of the biggest pain out there for business leaders and business owners is we create a culture that's based on trust. And that is something that we're absolutely passionate about. We have rules of engagement that we share, which says to every employee working there, every person, it shows them how to respect each other and how to show that verbally and non-verbally. And this is something that's so profound and powerful. And it's easy and it doesn't cost any money. But once you know that you can build trust back when it breaks, new game plan. It's so much easier to say, oh, I screwed. And can I do with you, team, to build trust back? Because I know I broke trust between us. And with that basis of a culture, you can actually do anything. Because when people feel safe, then they're free to innovate and they're free to design, they're free to collaborate. So the second thing that Profitivity is all about is we structure training. We teach, we go in and extract what are the behaviors that drive the results. And I have been doing these creation of training systems where we just map out the processes step by step, but we do it with behavior, not a concept. So essentially, we're saying, what does it look like when we're doing this correctly? And every single step, every behavior, if it's reinforced and if people really grow their skills through these processes, they can be duplicated. They can absolutely elevate the awareness and the skill level of all the people in the organization. And we create a team of mentors to keep those behaviors going. We call them mentors, the keepers of the flame. So they protect the culture and they protect the standards. And we create a culture that is all about collaboration and innovation. And it's a level playing field because everybody has a very important job, no matter what the position is. So that is one of the cornerstones. And the training systems we create, because they are in behavior and not in concepts like go greet the customer. How would you do that? So how many ways can greeting the customer be interpreted? A whole, like hundreds of ways. So what we do with our clients is we say, okay, what does a greeting look like? And if you break it into behaviors, it's eye contact, smile, and welcome. And what very nice, welcoming. And then if they want to engage with you, great. And if not, we let them go and get integrated into our environment. It's been so successful with those standard operating procedures broken into behaviors, and they're really duplicatable. The fourth really big part of this too for Profitivity is all of the training. This is something not everybody really understands. And what I learned from UCLA is that when people read or watch a video, the retention is about 3%. And it's going to be 3% up to 10% if they're talking about sex. But no, normally if it's 3% retention after 16 hours, whatever they learned at that computer or watching that video will just disappear. So when we work with self-teaching, what we're saying to them is you teach yourself your job. And what we are going to do is reinforce that. So we put the behaviors in there. They read what we call a training card every morning when they start their shift. They practice the behaviors when nobody's watching so they don't feel embarrassed. And then at the end of the shift, they go to a mentor and there's a show that they have to demonstrate to a mentor. And I'm going to say self-teaching is what works adults. And what that does is it engages us physically with our learning, and the retention goes up to 93%. We use it as a little quote, but the fastest way to learn something is to teach it. And we really believe as adults, teach ourselves the best. How do we learn? By doing. How do we learn? By making mistakes. So we celebrate that, but we want to make sure that footpath, that success path is wide open for all employees. Great question, Tom. How do you build trust back? And most of the time, what I find companies, they don't know, they haven't really thought about trust. But what we do is we ask them what breaks trust. So that's the key, isn't how to build it back, but what breaks it. And I have them come up with a list. What are some of the things that break trust with you? Everybody's different. So it could be coming in late. It could be not dressing to the dress code. It could be saying you're going to do something and you just don't get to it. You're not feeling well and you're still working, but you're not productive. But what happens is when we identify what breaks trust, then we look at what do we do to build trust back? And it's great because, first of all, there are these rules of engagement that if you know them and you embrace them, you'll know exactly how to build trust back. So here's an example. If the person says, yes, I will do this task, the manager or the mentor will say, great, when will you have it done? And we listen for their time frame. When will you have it done? What time today? So we're not assuming that they're going to go as fast as we are. They're not going to do it exactly the same way. So to build trust back is, first of all, have people make and keep agreements and find out how wonderful that is. And when they break an agreement, have a little consequence, just hey, that's not how we do things here. And then we go back and we actually build trust back by reviewing whatever the behavior was that broke trust and actually do something physical. Say, I'm building trust back. We call that humorous consequences. And what happens is when people step forward and just say, I know I blew it, trust is already building back right at that moment. So to make sure people have the ground rules or the rules of engagement so they know exactly what's expected. And also one of the other rules of engagement is no negativity, not to bring negativity in. Some people love drama. And one of the things we see through all the studies of human behavior and psychology is very often people that are negative have an unconscious payoff, and that is to get attention. So they really bring in all kinds of drama because they talk about it all day long and they get everybody engaged in it, and it gives them a sense of getting attention. However, we shift all of that around. So if you have a frown on your face and you walk into the store or the office, wherever we're working, and your colleagues are going to say, okay, what can you do in 5 minutes to bring yourself to being in a great place and being positive? And how much time do you need right now to get whatever's going on with you resolved so that you can be here and show up? So those are some of they're micro examples, but I've got to say, there's no small thing that breaks trust. It's all big. Trust is so important in our relationships at home and as well as work. So what breaks trust is so important to identify and then to find ways to build it back that are really human. And again, what I find is people take these rules of engagement home and they teach their kids. And that it makes a big difference in their lives. I have started in retail and I've had big clients like Old Navy clothing company. I created all of their training when they first opened. So the Gap hired me to do that. And that's actually where I invented the training card self-teaching system. And it was fantastic. It really worked for them. I've worked with retail chains. I've worked with garden centers, wonderful pharmacies. And I've had Bank of America as a client, American Express as a client. I've realized that Profitivity is industry agnostic. In other words, we can pretty much go into any industry, wherever there are people, wherever there are teams working to create something together. we can create an environment with them and specify their specific behaviors that really create the results and train the team of mentors. So I've had the United States Marine Corps as a client. I've had diamond distributors. I've had a public works department in a county in Colorado. So I know how to patch a pothole. If you ever need to know, let me, I've got a training system on that. So it doesn't matter. Clinics, just anything that where people are serving others and working on their feet. That's who I serve. And I also really believe that it doesn't matter what size of business. We typically work with companies that have about 50 employees or more. That really, whenever you are scaling and bringing in people, it causes a lot of disruption. So if you don't have any experience with that, or you don't have a system ready to go, it's very difficult to really expand your business. So we really can work with startups and get people started in the right direction. So we're really very flexible in who we're serving. First of all, we start at the top, because if we don't have any commitment from the people that own the business and that are running it and doing the best they can, we want them to embrace change and we partner with them. We don't do it for them. We don't deal with just one part of the organization. We are going to touch everybody's life in the entire organization. So we start at the top to discover what's happening right now, what urgent situations are creating a need to do this. We just take all of that into consideration. Lots of assessments, leadership role assessments, looking at all of the infrastructure, what they have ready for onboarding. We just take a great look at what is working and what needs to be updated or devised. And so we really want to build that culture with our clients. In fact, we call them partners because they are the subject matter experts. We are the ones who will do the mechanical means of breaking things down into behaviors and creating a training system that's self-teaching. They don't have to know all of that technical stuff, but we love it. And then what happens is they designate some people in their company that really do an excellent job, that really demonstrate what we call best practices. And so we work with them. Again, they're the subject matter experts. We are the ones facilitating what's the process that they go through that works every single time. So we put that all into the system of self-teaching, and then we create a team of mentors, which is what the people that are helping me author all of the materials, they are the go-to people. So they'll be the first string of mentors that will reinforce all of these wonderful tools and skills and tasks and training progress. They're going to be really working with people. So then after, we'll do a whole workshop for all the associates, the whole company, that is all about the culture, the rules of engagement, and the service skills that we want them to be developing. So we create a customized service program for every single one of our clients. That's theirs. Example of that is Party City has been a client. And so when I created their training system for sales, we called it Party On. So that was their acronym. And I worked with hundreds of garden centers, and we cultivate their garden of customers and reinforce that. And so we spelled that GARDEN. So we really customize for our clients and make sure that they own it, because they're the ones that actually that created it with me. So it never is mine or Profitivity's. It always belongs to them. And then after we've implemented the systems, all the workflows, all the operations, loss prevention and safety, all of the technical skills, maybe they have 80 or 90 different tasks and skills that they all learn. And when they've learned all of those, they can become a mentor to the next group of employees that come in. So there's a succession plan built in. And we continue to teach them how to hire or teach them, go in and do train the trainer on any topic, a lot of leadership development. And we stay with them and coach them for 6 months after we've implemented their legacy. And we do call it their legacy. That's what we have developed with them. And they last for years. And the upkeep is really minor. So that is one of the great things I love about our system is that it's real. Owners of businesses can sleep at night because they know that they have done their system. They've created something that's very user friendly. It's not high tech, and people are using it every single day. Thanks for asking, Tom. Of course, I have a website, profitivityyinc.com. I also have an email, and I have a Facebook group, Thriving Business, Thriving Teams equals Thriving Business. So I invite everyone to join that. And also, love doing online workshops, really engaging with all kinds of people in all different businesses. So I will put a link in so that you can see it. But honestly, we always have some training going on or a workshop or an invitation to some of our big events. And we have a business culture fest where people spend 3 days with us, the two people from each business, and they create their onboarding. And we really give them our tools and templates. So by the end of 3 days, they got it all together and they can go back and train it and develop other people. So we have also leadership live courses that we do 3 times a year. We can do it week by week. We give one part of the process at a time, and we can work and build the culture with our leaders so they end up with a phenomenal system in place that makes them pretty much future proof. And that's what we're aiming for. And also it makes all of their employees stakeholders. Thanks for asking about it. It's like a baby. I have a quiz that I really created in order to assist leaders to figure out what their blind spot might be. For example, they don't know why their people don't keep agreements, but there's something that they may be doing that's creating some of that. What I've done is create a leadership blind spot quiz. So they take this quiz in 60 seconds and they find out when things are stressful or they're being pushed a little bit too much, they default to a certain type of role. And some of those may mean maybe a star quarterback performer where they take over and do it all themselves. I don't know if you know anybody like that. Or they might be a perfectionistic and a little bit of a micromanager and looking over people's shoulders and not trusting their team. Or they might be a people pleaser like I was years ago, where they're just trying to make everybody happy. So to know what your default position is frees you. And also what I do in this quiz is show people in a webinar right after that, what are the behaviors that they can see in their staff when they're acting like this? Like, how does the staff behave? So I look at that mirror image as well. So you can learn that. And once you know it, the bubbles popped. And now you can really get back to reality and you can use all of the tools to really read your employees' minds so that you're not afraid of them anymore. And there's another quiz because of some of the crazy stuff that's gone on during the pandemic, where there are people that are very unhappy about working for companies that don't care, or they just are troublemakers. So I created a quiz called How Do You Handle a Detractor? A detractor being the person who drives you crazy, who is not really jumping in to help anything. And so that's a quiz that really helps people see some of, again, their defaults of what they do to overcompensate for people or to avoid people if that person is causing some dissension among the team. Again, points right to a leadership skill set. that will absolutely give you peace of mind every single day because you know exactly how to handle something that may have in the past blindsided you or put you in a place where there was antagonism within the team. And sometimes that can cause a walkout. So we've seen so many of these things happen. So the detractor quiz is also really wonderful. And again, learning more about yourself will give you so much more momentum and so many more possibilities than you would do on your own. I love doing live workshops. I'm so glad we have the technology to be together and really where virtual experiences can be so rich. So what I've been doing is leadership live events where we'll take 7 weeks and take every part of your culture and really learn new skills and tools to really bring those parts alive and to also create a workplace where people love coming to work every day. And so you can attract people and engage them with collaboration and then really and truly retain them so they don't want to go anywhere else. So we can do that online. Some of the courses, like I have garden centers, as I mentioned, one of the things I did for them was create a self-teaching training system. And it's videos and it's having them go through experiences and demonstrating to mentors also what they know. But it's self-teaching and it's all about the garden selling because during the garden center season, which is happening in the spring, it's crazy. And then it starts getting quieter as we go into summer. They need to get all of their seasonal people up and running quickly. So we do have a few self-teaching systems that we can customize for any type of organization so that they have a living, breathing library of great modules that they can go and learn from and also keep up to speed with the demands of the customers really fast so that they're very productive in a short time. And I'll do hiring courses online as well, because a lot of business owners, just like I was way back when in the department stores, no one taught me how to hire. I was a recruiter. I love sharing the hiring skills and tools with people that really don't have a strategy yet so that they can really streamline all of their attraction strategies and the retention strategies and build an onboarding that people love and will get integrated and included very quickly. So I do those courses as well. And I have some of them on my website that you can please check them. They're all great. And I've just seen so many business owners, their shoulders go down because now they know how to hire people. If you're good at hiring people, you really have a tremendous skill that is going to show you the difference between being held hostage by your employees or running an adult daycare or having a business where the employees love what you're doing, they're supporting you and being stakeholders. So hiring is one of the key elements. The leadership live are wonderful. If you want to go to a 3-day intensive, we do those live as well. And they're virtual, but they're really roll up your sleeves and really get going and refurbish and upgrade or resurrect some of the wonderful visions and values that you really need for the team to work well together. Great question. What is Flip the Company? I love makeover shows. I love any kind of transformation. So I watch a lot of Property Brothers and Fixer Uppers and flipping. So with that concept in mind, that is exactly what it is when we work with a client and completely build their infrastructure with them. So we make our clients the partners. We get all of the information and history and assessments of where they want to go, what they have now, job descriptions. And with that, we take a look from an outside objective position for all of the opportunities that they have to build more into their brand, to really feature more of the skills that their customers are really wanting. So somehow having an outside person coming in to see what beauty and magic a company has, because truly they forgot how great they are sometimes. It's like having that box on the floor and they just walk over it instead of moving it. So we really love being that objective outside person that can facilitate all of the best practices, organize them into a structured system, and also then train mentors to reinforce the system and train the whole company with the culture and the values that really make a team work really well. So we end up having a huge transformation, new systems, and we work off of the systems that were there, and we work with the team to elevate the systems, to make it more streamlined, and to add any kind of technology that will really support their end results and build them more profit.